They say time heals, but what they never tell you is that sometimes time is the very thing stolen from you by people who were supposed to protect you, love you, remember what mattered. And when I opened that drawer and saw the empty velvet box where my late father's watch used to rest, I knew something was gone that no amount of time could return. Something sacred had been ripped away while the world pretended it was just another day. And though my face didn't move, my soul screamed because that watch wasn't a Rolex, it wasn't gold, it wasn't a flashy trophy. It was memory, legacy. It was the last pulse of a man who raised me when no one else did, who gave me stories instead of lectures, warmth instead of punishment, and faith instead of pressure. A man who wore that watch through every storm, through every scraped knee, sleepless night, hospital visit, graduation, and tearful goodbye. And after his sudden death, when the world turned quiet and cold, that watch was the one thing that kept ticking, reminding me that he had been real, that the love we shared had existed, that time had once been on our side, and now it was gone, vanished, like everything else good in my life. And I searched the house like a madman, ripping open drawers, flipping cushions, crawling under beds, knowing damn well it hadn't been lost. It had been taken, and there was only one person in that house who agreed to do it, my stepbrother, the parasite in designer clothes, the self-proclaimed entrepreneur who never lifted a finger but always expected a feast, the same guy who moved in with his mother after Dad's second marriage and treated our home like a hotel, always borrowing, always lying, always looking at the family photos like they were things he could sell. And when I confronted him, asked him straight up if he'd touched it, he laughed, and said maybe I should let go of the past and focus on building something of my own, as if legacy could be built from stolen memories. And when I turned to my stepmother, her silence screamed louder than any confession, and I felt something inside me twist, something heavy and permanent, like the last good thread had snapped, and for 2 days I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, just sat staring at my phone, at the fireplace, at the empty space on the shelf where the watch used to sit in its case, until I got a call from a number I didn't recognize, and the voice on the other end was rough like gravel, but gentle like truth. And he said, "You Mark's boy?" I think I've got something of his, and time stopped right then because no one had said my dad's name in months. Not like that, not with reverence, and I asked him who he was, and he said, "Pawn shop off 3rd Street. A kid brought in an old Omega last night. I didn't feel right selling it. Thought I'd look into it. And I swear to God, my heart punched a hole in my chest because I knew it was him. It was his watch, and I didn't say a word, just grabbed my keys and drove like I was chasing a ghost. Like if I didn't make it there in time, it might vanish again. And when I pushed open that dusty shop door and stepped inside, it felt like stepping into a memory frozen in time. And there it was, in a glass case, lying like a body in a casket, my father's watch, still ticking, still waiting, like it had been holding its breath for me, and I stared at it, unmoving, while the man behind the counter looked at me with a sadness I didn't expect and said, "I don't know who he was to you, but this piece is weight." And I told him everything in one breathless flood, about the heart attack that took Dad in a blink, the funeral that felt like a bad dream, the Cold War that followed, the betrayal, the silence. And when I was done, the man didn't say a word. He just reached under the glass, pulled the watch out like it was a sacred relic, and placed it in my hands like he was handing me back a heartbeat I'd lost. And he said, "Some things you just know belong to someone else." And I broke down right there, in front of a stranger, because sometimes it takes someone who doesn't know you at all to remind you that you still matter, that what you lost wasn't just stuff. And I walked out of that shop with the watch clenched so tightly in my fist, I thought I might crush it. But it was solid, strong, like my father had built it himself. And when I got home, I waited for my stepbrother in the driveway, the sky bruised with storm clouds, and when he pulled in with his new luxury SUV, bought with blood money, I was sure of it. I held the watch up to his face and said, "You sold this." And he had the audacity to smirk, to say, "What's your problem, man? You still crying over a dead guy's watch?" And that's when I knew there was no brother in him. No soul, no regret, just ego and excuses and empty ambition. And I didn't hit him. I didn't scream. I just looked him dead in the eyes and said, "This was never about the watch. This was about him. And now it's about me." And I turned away, walked inside, and sat at my desk, staring at the watch for hours, letting its soft ticking fill the silence, letting it anchor me again. And then I wrote. I wrote it all down. The truth, the betrayal, the pain, the kindness of the stranger, the war between keeping quiet and speaking up, and I posted it online with a photo of the watch resting on my open palm, and I didn't expect much, didn't expect anyone to care, but within hours the post exploded. Comments from strangers around the world poured in. Thousands, then tens of thousands, then millions. People saying they'd been through the same, that they'd lost everything to greed, that they'd watched families sell off pieces of memory like junk, that they'd been gaslit, silenced, told to move on like love had an expiration date. And suddenly this wasn't just my story anymore. It was ours, a chorus of broken voices refusing to be quiet any longer, and people cried, people raged, people healed. And that's why I'm here now, speaking directly to you, not as a YouTuber, not as a content creator, but as someone who knows what it feels like to lose and lose and lose until the only thing left to do is stand back up and say, no more. So if you're watching this and your heart is pounding, if you've ever had your grief minimized, your memories stolen, your truth pawned off by someone who never cared, don't you dare stay quiet. Don't you dare shrink, because your story matters, your voice matters, your pain matters, and if this hit home for you, if even a single second of this felt like your own life, then do not scroll past. Do not treat this like another throwaway video. Like, comment, subscribe, and share this with someone who needs it, because the world is starving for truth, for realness, for stories that bleed and breathe, and your engagement isn't just helping the algorithm. It's helping me, it's helping you, it's helping all of us who've been buried under silence, because this isn't just a watch, and this isn't just a video. This is a fight for what can't be replaced. And if you've ever had something stolen that meant more than anyone understood, then take this moment. Take this story and reclaim it, because you're not alone, and we are not done telling the truth. And I promise, as long as this watch keeps ticking, as long as my breath keeps burning, I will keep speaking, I will keep remembering, and I will keep fighting for